Hi everybody, it's Christina from Card Making Magic. These are some of the dies that I'm going to use today to create what is a clean and simple card. So I'm going to use the 5x7 Matting Basics in A and B to create my base and some of the layers. Then I'm also using another 5x7 die, and this is called Modern Stationery. Now with this one we're going to use two of them to create layers, and then on the bottom of the layers I'm going to add in a nice shape. Then I'm going to add on top of that some of the ovals from this particular set, and this one is called Elegant Ovals, and I want these ovals to be embossed, so I will be using an embossing folder to create my pattern. And then from the leaves and the flowers we'll be adding in just a couple of flowers, and then from the sentiments I will be adding in the little What's with Love sentiment along the card, and I'm going to show you how to use all these. Now for my card I'm going to use blue, so I'm starting with a white base, then I have a stripe, a spot and a sentiment piece of card, and as long as they all blend with the colours, the different patterns won't make a lot of difference. Then I'm also using a piece of double-sided adhesive sheets. Now to create the base from Matting Basics A, I've taken the largest die, which is number 7, and if you remember, spellbinders number their dies all the time. Number 1 is always the smallest die, so number 7 would be the largest. So I've cut two pieces to create my base. Then from Matting Basics B, I've taken the largest die, number 7, and I've cut a spotty base that will lie on top of this. Now the quickest way to join these two cards is to take one of the pieces and fold it back by about ½ inch, and then if you add some glue along that piece and line it up with the other piece so that it's all nice and level, that will create a base card for you to work on. So from the base we've created the white card, and we've got one of the layers. Now from Modern Stationery I've used the number 7 die to create another layer, and from the number 6 die I've created two more layers, one in white and one in a pattern. So with these two layers now we need to achieve this kind of a look. So what we're going to do is put the largest layer onto the card, and then take the patterned layer and lay that on top, and then with my die I'm going to position it where I think I would like that curve. So then I'm going to tape that down and I'm going to run that through the die cutting machine so that I end up with this pattern. Now to make this piece leave a little gap, I'm just going to line them up, and then I'm going to add in my border along the bottom so that it just leaves a small gap along there, and tape that in place and run that through the die cutting machine. And then once that's done, all I've done is just layered these up, leaving a small border around the edge, and then I've trimmed off this side so that we've got just a nice little border and the double scalloped edge. Now from Elegant Ovals I've taken the number 3 die and I've cut a piece, and I've taken the number 2 die and I've also cut an oval, and then taking that scalloped pattern from the layer from the other piece, I've used a double-sided embossing board, and I've embossed all 3 pieces, and I've used the different sides to create the different patterns on the card. So for the next part of the card I've used Pretty Petals A and cut one flower, and Pretty Petals B, and I've cut 2 flowers for my card from this. And then from some green card with the foliage die sets, I've just cut myself some leaves. So to complete my flowers, what I've done is I've embossed all the pieces, and then I have glued them together so that they marry up with each other. And then I've taken a little diamante piece and I've just added some glue to this, and I'm going to sit that in the middle. Oops. And then in the centre of that, I'm just going to add a little spot of glue, and I'm just going to pop in a pearl. So I'll leave them on one side because I don't need them just yet. Now with the little with love sentiment, this is what we're trying to achieve. And this has got some depth in it to be added to the card. So what we need for this is some crafting foam, some double-sided sheet, and some card that you've used in your design. So to create the sentiment, you're going to take one of the sides off your double-sided adhesive sheet, and you're going to add it to your craft foam. And then you're going to place your die on the top and run it through your die cutting machine. And then once you've done that, you will have a really pretty sentiment cut out of the foam that says with love, and it still has the double-sided sticky sheet on one of the sides. So what you need to do now is take your die and run it through your machine again on your patterned paper. So once you've got your words cut out from the card that you're using, you need to peel this backing sheet off the double-sided, and then very carefully you need to position this on the top and stick it in place. And then you will have a really nice sentiment with depth to it. Now if you wanted to give this extra strength, you can always cut the words out again and line it with the double-sided tape and put them on the back. So now we've got all the elements to the card ready to assemble, and we'll just go ahead and put it all together. So the first thing I'm going to do is using a wet glue, and this is Cosmic Shimmer Dries Clear. I'm just going to add in that base layer. I'm just going to leave a small border around the edge. Now the next layer I'm adding in with some foam tape, just to raise it up from the card to make it a little bit more interesting. It just gives that extra piece of dimension to it. So we just need to line this up along there and get that in place. So now we've just created a little bit of interest in each corner. Now the next thing I need to do is glue these two pieces together, and this was the piece that was embossed. So I'm just going to make sure that there's plenty of wet glue in all those little embossing pieces, and then it will stick to the card. And again, I'm just going to leave a small border around the edge. Now this layer can be added again with some foam tape, and that again just gives it a little bit more interest to the card. And we're just going to pop that along there, and again just leaving a nice little border around the edge. So press all that down, make sure it's all stuck in place. Now the next thing I'm adding in is one of the ovals, and because of this shape in the card, I want the oval to sit in that shape, so I'm adding it slightly off centre, and again I'm adding that in with some foam tape. So that's just going to sit along there, and again with some foam tape I'm just going to pop in the last oval and that's sitting in there. Now with some wet glue, I'm just going to add in this sentiment, and this is the one that we added the foam, the craft foam to give it some height. So it will only glue on part of the words, the rest of it is free, but it's quite a solid piece, so that will be fine. Now with the flowers, I'm putting a nice big piece of foam tape on the back of one, and I'm going to add that in there. Now I should have added this leaf in before I added the flower, and I forgot, so I'm just going to tuck that in behind there, and that will just sit behind that flower. And I'm going to put these other leaves down there at the bottom. So I'm just adding a little bit of glue just to the bottom of the leaves, and we'll pop that in along there. And then the flat flower, the other one has double layers of tape on it. This one I'm just going to pop in under there and lay it flat, and the double one I'm just going to sit on the top along there. And I think we'll add in another little leaf just along here. Now if you wanted to finish that off, you can add in some pearls. So I think we'll just add some pearls along there, and these pearls will match the pearls that are in the flowers, and we'll just put a small pearl over the top of the eye, oops, just to dot that eye just along there, and there we've got a card that's finished. So I've used a piece of the same kind of card to line the inside, and there is the finished card, ready to send.